Welcome back as you're watching the Afia Morning Show live from Enugu, Nigeria. My name is Nathalie. Once again, of course, Oji is here. Good morning, Oji. How do you do?
Hi, good morning. I'm great.
That's fantastic.
Welcome.
How are you feeling this morning?
Great. End of the month, July.
What makes it so special to you?
Is it special? Well, it's a special month, by the way. But then again, someone had to go with the month, right? So, but it's great. Thank God for life and the life he lived too, by the way. So it's all about celebration. I tell people whenever they send in all their messages are like, there's no need to grieve for mourn. I think the best part of his life is to celebrate all he accomplished and the long life he lived, actually. Yeah,
that's right. All right. Thank you so much, Oji, for still making our time to even still come for the show, despite everything that you're going through. And I can assure you that your father's soul is resting in the bosom of God, and we'll continue to pray for him. All right. We have Barrister Chidi Ujoatumba here, human rights lawyer, CEO Ujoatumba and Company. Barrister Chidi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And thanks for having me.
How are you finding your holiday?
It's going on smoothly. Sorry, Oji. I'm just hearing you for the first time.
Yeah.
I know.
Take care.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at headlines this morning, beginning with the Punch newspaper and the top story here. Federal government eyes 796 billion naira annually from 5% petrol surcharge. Consumers decry new fuel tax after subsidy removal as law commences January 2026. But Harcourt Refinery not for sale, according to Nnpc. Varsity students to face drug tests, says Education Minister. Abiodun welcomes ex-PDP chair, others to Ogun, APC. Gunmen stab Ogun businessman to death. Kings must respect ancestral burial rights or quit throne, according to Wande Abimbola. Reps probe Nigerian minors' abuse claim in car. Patients groan as nurses strike grounds hospitals nationwide. UTME fraud, JAMB prosecuted 110 in 5 years. On The Guardian, suspended school feeding initiative leaves 9 million pupils, 250,000 jobs stranded. Saudi to expand operations in Nigeria with TransBlue partnership. TCN board reaffirms corporate governance standards, faults prolonged tenure of interim doctors. Nurses begin warning strike over poor conditions, leave patients stranded. Ministry and DLEA OK compulsory drug tests for undergraduates. 2027 Rufai reveals PDP in talks with Obi for major return. Aliyah dissolves cabinet, appoints Ataga as new COS. Marginalization, not fiscal position stronger under Tinubu, says Bagudu. NNPCL suspends sale of refinery, exports 400,000 MT of refined products. On Daily Trust, NNPCL says refineries not for sale. Troops kill 9 Boko Haram terrorists in Borno. Bandits on renewed rampage in Katsina. Villages evicted, forced into peace deals. Benue governor sacks chief of staff, commissioners. Why indigentship bill was withdrawn. Money given to Super Falcons can pay 16,000 doctors, 66,000 teachers, others. Nurses strike, patients stranded at hospitals nationwide. On Daily Global, NNPC rules out sale of Port Harcourt Refinery. Tinubu meets Kwankwanso's ally Jibrin behind closed doors. Tinubu names governing council officers for Ogoni University. Oluyede's quiet war, the general who commands with his heart. And away from there, Oji, go ahead.
Okay, starting from News Direct. Cardinal Kanu standard gauge rail line ready for commissioning next year, says FG, cites major road health infrastructure gains across northern Nigeria. Past Nnpc Limited management revival of PH Refinery, ill-informed, said Ojulari, as Nnpc Limited rules out sale of refinery. Shanwolu unveils puzzle book on history of Lagos, Osun 2026, over 36,000 PVCs collected, says INEC. Fuel importers drop prices as competition tightens in downstream sector. Lastly, on Nigerian News Direct. Tinubu's reforms saved Nigeria from brink of collapse, attributed to Oyedele. Moving over to this day. Bagudu. Revenue allocation to North improved under Tinubu. President fair to all. Says net distribution to sub-nationals rose to 991 billion naira in June from 458.8 billion naira in May 2023. Revenue to North Central jumps 145%, Northeast by 149%, Northwest by 143%. Participants at SABMF engagement laud Tinubu seek action on education infrastructure. Nnpc, we have no plan to sell Port Harcourt Refinery, blames former leadership for operating plants before completion, says refinery will require advanced technical partners. Moved over to Nigerian Tribune, and Nnpc rules out sale of Port Harcourt Refinery. Petroan rejects plans not to privatize refinery, seeks arrested over vandalization of Warri Kaduna crude oil pipeline in Edo. North calls for equitable distribution of resources to address regional imbalance. Bagudu. Tinubu has been faithful to the North, says President fair to all. Benue IDPs protest over 1 billion naira donation by Tinubu's wife. $245 billion human traffic scourge threatens Nigeria's security, says AGF. Adeleke deploys 1,750 Imole teachers. Call to Osun schools. Health. Lead in gasoline linked to cognitive impairment in Gen X. Nurses strike grounds hospitals. Hospitals reject patients for admission. FG appeals to nurses, midwives. Lastly, Daily Times. Port Harcourt Refinery not for sale. Nurses begin 7-day warning strike. Minister Bianca Ojukwu holds talks in Ghana over bilateral tensions. FGMO's cattle breeding centers in 6 geopolitical zones, attributed to Agric Minister. Ada Liku rallies support for Nigeria's bid for Imo Council seat. And lastly, Aviation Ministry, MOFI to collaborate on sectors development.
All right, Oji, where do we begin this morning?
Apparently, the one that cut across all the dailies this morning, Port Harcourt Refinery not up for sale, but Barrister Chidi Ujoatumba. I would ask you, at this point in time,
Is that the one that cut across all?
apparently everybody's talking about the refinery.
Okay. What about the money that the presidency is trying to raise?
Yes, we're going to get.
Oji, go ahead with this question.
We're going to get to that, right? We're going to get. But my question is simple.
Yeah.
At this point in time, these refineries, what's the way to go? To privatize it, or still leave it in the hands of the Nigerian government to be running?
The first question we have to ask is Nnpc have been privatized. As in
They want to sell it more to...
Yes, the organization that oversees the affairs of oil and everything that has to do with oil and mineral resources, it has been privatized to NNPCL. So when you're talking about now, the biggest refinery in Nigeria now is a private refinery. Yeah, it's a private refinery that is even exporting fuel to other African countries. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, where will it be well catered for? Will it be in the hands of the private, or will it be in the hands of private and government joined together, or will it be in the hands of the government?
I ask this question because there's a confusion of this. Wow, they say that NNPC is being privatized, but it could actually be in the books.
Only in the papers.
Yeah.
It's
just dotted lines signed.
Because if the president can also be the president and also be the minister of petroleum, so you begin to ask yourself, why are we fooling ourselves? Why don't we really? There was a rumor last 2 weeks in the dailies that by El Rufai that Mr. President is deducting like $100 million from oil revenue every month without Senate approval and all the rest of them, because we don't have accountability. That's the country. We have eventually found ourselves, we don't have accountability. There is no distinct Ministry of Natural Resources and Petroleum that is accountable either to the Senate or even to the President. So many presidents did that. I think Obasanjo did it also. You understand? They make this ministry, because of corruption, they make this ministry to be interwoven with the executive activities, thereby creating, an environment that is devoid and totally devoid of transparency. So it is a very big problem. We know that the government cannot run any business. You and I know very well, okay, crystal clear, that the government is not designed to run any business. The best that the government can do is to create the enabling environment, you understand, generate and implement policies that can make businesses and commerce to strive. Why they tax people who are now doing business in that created enabling environment? That's the most that the government can do. That's the most that they can do. They cannot run business. Now, let me tell you something. If government in the Western world knows very well that they cannot run businesses, you understand, and because to an extent they're transparent, to an extent that you can see that their democracy is advancing, we cannot really deny the fact that we're learning from them. If they cannot run business, how can we run business? The entire African politics is replete with corruption, you understand? Apart from the recent, development that are coming up in the recent time with what is happening in the Sahel region, you understand? We have not seen leaders who are, coming out to really reject corruption and fight corruption to its, last alphabet. So it's really something that we Nigerians can. Oji, you and I were here when the Harcourt Refinery was trying to come up to, challenge what is coming up with the Dangote, how they were starting and stopping and, coming up with different information, deluding the masses, you understand? Because we cannot even put our hand to the exact thing that the Harcourt Refinery is doing. Now they're coming up again with the rumor that they're selling and they are not selling. Who is buying at the end of the day? You're going to have to ask yourself the question, who is what buying?
And they were even blaming the former leadership for operating the plants before completion. Yeah.
Well, that's the blame game. Yeah. If an administration or if someone is appointed, now instead of them to look at the present circumstances or the challenge that the nation is facing as their job description, you understand, they start throwing on blame games. Okay, you can inherit something. Yes, that's why you are there. You are not just appointed to step into an already made circumstances where all economic and financial plans are flowing, comparative. You understand? You could meet ups and downs. And what makes you a leader is your ability to steady the equilibrium. You understand? Put policies in place to make sure that things are functioning very well. That's what makes you a leader.
But would you say that apparently adding that institution to his portfolio, I'm talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he's the Minister of Petroleum. Has he also failed in that sphere?
Well, when you now look at the nature of petroleum, the resources, because it constitutes almost 95% of Nigerian GDP. So Nigeria is an energy-driven nation. So everything is from that sector. So one would have thought that maybe we should make it distinct from the executive. We should make it transparent. You understand? And if we are commercializing it, you understand? It should be declared. People should go and buy stocks and shares, you understand, and say, I am investing in Nigerian this, because the profit should appreciate over a period of time. And we are also a member nation of OPEC, who can wake up one morning and say that you should cut down production, okay, or that you should increase production. So this oil market, it's not a steady market, okay? You monitor it and you watch how it flows. So I don't think it's an office that Mr. President should, after taking up the position as the Mr. President, he should still, be the one that is spearheading this very sensitive and sacrosanct department. I don't think it's something that is not democratic. Okay, it should be an office totally distinct from the executive, so that we can monitor it, invest in it, appraise it. You understand, and also criticize its policies. Criticize its policies when the policy is not open. when you cannot track a policy, you may not be able to say this is what they are doing or this. Allegations keep on coming. Do you know that the presidency never responded to the allegation by El Rufai that Mr. Tinubu is removing 100 from the oil revenue? No response, no nothing. Nothing in a democratic dispensation.
So the privatization in all its meanings and all that stuff, right? And as I asked before, is this the way to go for this refinery? And yes, let's call it what it is. NNPCL is privatized, but as you say, it's on paper.
Okay.
Right? So, but in what it means to privatize a company, right, and have people even buy shares, and we could actually do what we did with power to our petroleum, right?
Exactly.
In what it all means, is that the way to go? To remove. We've been trying to fix these refineries like over months and years, and still the thing is running on this capacity, and next thing is shutting down, and next thing is coming back up. What is the way to go?
Privatization is good. There's nothing wrong with privatization. When you think of privatization, you think of Jonathan and Atiku. You think of Atiku and Obasanjo. You understand? That was time the Transcore, oil, and what do you call it, power, and so many other parastatals were privatized. We are not worried about privatization. It's a system whereby the management of all these facilities are handed over to the hand of the private. It is expected to bring in dividends. It is expected to bring in profit. It is expected to bring in, good management and professionalism. But do we see it in those things that we have privatized? Do we see it? Okay. Now, if we can privatize the Petroan Refinery, and then it could be up to what we have at Dangote Refinery, one can really beat his chest and say, yes, it is bringing in the dividend that is required. You can imagine one single refinery in Lagos bringing down the price of oil all over the nation. Just one single refinery, calling it shots because it's functional, it's well managed, and they are being supplied with the required crude oil at the end of the day. So if we have like the Petroan Refinery well privatized, not also being bought over by those who are privatizing it, you understand? Let it be, let the bidding be made public. Okay? Let the bidding be made public. What is the criticism that we are facing concerning the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway? Because the bidding was not made public. Nobody knows exactly what is going on there. If they are privatizing it, let it be made public. Even locals. Do you know that locals can buy it over? It must not be in the hands of the foreigners. Let this thing be made public. Let us have that public interest. Let public interest drive our narrative.
Speaking about locals and their financial stability, they're talking about how deep their pockets would be come 2026. Boldest headline on the Punch: federal government eyes 796 billion naira annually from 5% petrol surcharge. Now, we recall that the federal government has, of course, taken away subsidy, and come January 2026, in line with the tax reform bills, the federal government would be introducing a 5% surcharge on fuel from both local sources and imported sources. Now, consumers are decrying that this could further increase the hardship, the burden on Nigerians, because now the price may go up as a result of what the federal government will be collecting to drive up this revenue annually. What's your reaction to this headline, Barrister Chidi?
My reaction is very, very simple. When these bills were going through different stages and passing through different stages, what was the reaction of the members of the House? Was it made public? Subsidy had been removed. Up to now, we don't have a specific amount that we can say this is what has gone into the federal coffers as a result of the removal of subsidy. And now you're putting in 5% kind of a surcharge on anybody who buys fuel. So is that not bringing, like when you pointed out, that will definitely affect the price of the pump fuel come January 2026, because that's when all these taxes will be ineffective. So I think I don't really understand how this country functions, because there were so many concerns about the bill, the tax bill. Some were complaining about derivation, some were complaining about the sharing formula, some were complaining about so many things. So why didn't anybody point this out? Why didn't any of the lawmakers or any of the non-governmental or the people who were, why didn't anybody point out that we are going to pay 5%? Why should it come now that the bill have passed through all the reading stages? The bill have been assigned into law, you understand? And we're looking at implementation come January 2026. So what are we going to do? Are we going to go back to repeal it all over again? Or are we going to go back to say we want to amend it? Because that's very, very important. Because it will definitely, no doubt, it will definitely affect the price of palm fuel come January 2026. So I think it's an ambush by the federal government. That's a wonderful ambush. So I think the Labour should look into it, because the federal government have in the past come up with bills and legislations that were passed into law, but when they saw that its implementation will have an adverse effect on the masses, like the education loan bill, they took it back and looked at it all over again and came up with something that is generally acceptable to all as sundry. So if that 5% is actually there, I think it's something that required to be revisited, because there's no doubt that it will affect the price of the pump fuel at the end of the day, except if they are going to find a way to now strike a deal or a balance with oil producing companies like Dangote and the Port Harcourt Refinery, in such a way that a certain amount of reduction will help them to charge that 5% without the masses taking that 5% alone. It could be shared into two. 25% to the company and then 5% to the masses. They must find a way to get around that clause, because the bill has already been passed into law, and there's nothing that you and I can do now to change its effect come January 2026.
At this point in time, all marketers are already saying that this is going to lead to a hike in prices.
Definitely, it will.
So we're looking at a lot of money.
And its effect might even start by December this year.
Yes, because people will start trying to buy. Panic buying. Like what we saw with the Naira notes. Yes.
Yeah.
So 796 billion Naira, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
How optimistic are you that the money will be driven to the right, shall we say, people-centric developments?
How optimistic am I that the budget of this country is being implemented openly and transparently, and funds are going actually to the right places, and corrupt politicians are being brought to book? How optimistic am I that our elections will be free and fair? So see, when you bring that word optimism, you understand, in our political and economic atmosphere, it's like a pendulum. It can go up and down, up and down. There's nothing we can eventually hold on to and say, we are sure that this is how this election, this economic policy, or this implementation will definitely go. Left to me, I think that's a huge amount of money. If you plow it back into our budget, Oji, do you know that it can stop us borrowing from at least 2 years? I'm being honest with you. Look at the amount of money. If you get it very well and make sure that it's paid and it's plowed back into the Nigerian budget. Let's take, for instance, if you collect it in 2026, and then we plow it into 2027 budget, you understand? We might not even need to borrow. We might not even need to go through what we call supplementary budgeting and all the rest of them. But at the end of the day, we still borrow. Our national debt is running, and we're using 30 to 35% of our own budget to service national debt, money that we borrow from other countries all over the world. So,
but I want to ask you, so all the money is too that we save from subsidy.
So where is it? Where is it?
So let's look at now surcharge. Do you see the federal government, has the federal government played a fast one? Have they now reduced their spending? They've removed subsidy and they replaced the word subsidy with surcharge.
Surcharge, yes.
Now we are the ones that will be generating revenue for the government as opposed to the government reducing the burden. Do you think it was overlooked?
When I look at how laws are made, how laws go through what we call readings, committee stages, where now people can come and pick up the pages of the legislation, or rather, pick up the pages of the law that trying to become the bill that's trying to become a law. Ask the legislative questions. You understand? When I watch how the Westerns do their own, and I ask myself the question: why do we allow certain things to really, really go through all these stages, only for us to see it springing up on the pages of a newspaper when the bill has been passed into law? It baffles me. It doesn't really, like you rightly pointed out, the federal government has actually played a fast one on every Nigerian. Do you know what 5% means? Do you know the population of this country? How many people depend on oil? Even if you have an electric car, you understand? In one way or the other, you will depend on oil. Even when you are buying the foodstuff in the market, that those who are producing it and transporting it depends on what? Oil. You're also paying that money for oil. So oil is our central energy, and there is no way we can actually devoid of it at this present point in time. So left to me, the federal government have played a fast one on all Nigerians. Look, okay, do you know the very first one that they played on us? Subsidy gone. Subsidy removed. And everybody was encouraging to go through the hardship that entails with the removal of the subsidy. Okay? That at a point in time, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. 2 years has gone, nothing has changed. The price of food has not gone down. 2 years has gone, education has not gone down. 2 years has gone, nothing. The only thing the only kudos I can give to this government is that this education fund, which I have seen people who have been availed of that opportunity, and they are really making good use of it. I heard a story of someone who said that he applied and he got the money, but he didn't stop his parents from sending him the money they were sending him. But he openly told them, this is how much the federal government is giving me, and I'm going to use it to do what? To be doing business, so that I will pay back when I graduate. That it's not quite something that I can, play with. So that's an encouraging one. But apart from that, how many people are getting it? How is it affecting the masses? How is it really, really affecting every sector of our economy? So these governments, that's like, if you allow me, it's a flash in the pan. There are so many other things that you can do well and move Nigeria and, the masses forward. I don't think they're really doing enough at this point in time.
Okay, Nigerian Tribune, Bagudu. Tinubu has been faithful to the North, says President, fair to all. There's been uproar on how he's focusing on the South and ignoring the Northerners. What do you make out of this? Because yesterday I was trying to pose a question. Is there a strategy, apparently, because the Northerners are trying to tell President Tinubu that, hey, we actually supported you and the Muslim ticket and all that, but we're not getting the dividends we actually anticipated. So there's a kickback now.
I wonder the kind of dividends that the North will be expecting to get from a southern president who have most of his appointees from the North.
And
yes, who has most of his appointees from the North. And see, Tinubu is a politician. You cannot take that away from him. He has seen the political landscape come 2027, and he's putting his eggs in 7 baskets, if you can allow me to say that. So, because even if he allows electoral reform, even if he amends the constitution, you understand, there's a certain level of rigging that you can do. You will hold the entire nation to a stalemate. The coalition is not sleeping. PDP is not sleeping. You saw it on the rider.
Yeah.
How PDP is coming together, trying to say that they're going to now openly make their zoning to the south. And that was the crack. That was the straw that broke the camel's back in 2023. I think 2023.
Yeah.
When they failed to look, the fight of the president, the presidential election in 2023, it would have become an entirely different thing if PDP had zoned their presidency to the south. Because a northerner just finished 8 years. A northerner just finished 8 years. So why would a northerner insist? So you see, when people align with Wike, you know that it's something that goes beyond politics, you understand? Why would a northerner insist again that he will become the president? If PDP can cede their presidency to the south come 2027, we can be looking out to, because they have to come to the coalition table with something at hand. They can't come empty.
Okay.
Something has to come.
Let me jump in now. We have headlines that cut across our dailies. Nurses begin warning strike over poor conditions, leave patients stranded. I'd like to tie it to this one on Daily Trust that says money given to Super Falcons can pay 16,000 doctors, 66,000 teachers, others. So you can see where they connect. People who are on divided sides of this fence. Some people support what the president gave to the Super Falcons. Some believe that the police officers, the retired officers should be compensated better, nurses, doctors. And at the same time, the nurses are on strike. At the same time that the president has given this money to the Super Falcons to celebrate them. How would you connect these two headlines? And how do you feel about the strike by the nurses?
It calls for a national discourse. Okay, it is a symptom of a broken system. Okay, look at it maturely. Let us not misplace priorities here. Our nationals, those who flag our flag high, deserve something. Okay, but when the institutions in the country are not meeting up to demand, you see a gap. You see a gap. If the nurses are well taken care of, if there are policies to take good care of doctors without them flying abroad and all brain drain and all those ones, they will not start, looking at what the presidency have used to compensate those who flag our flag high beyond the shores of this country. Okay, those who have made our name to be written with gold. So they deserve something, but the gap in administration, okay, the gap in infrastructural provision, okay, the gap in leadership have made these people to be, looking at, because let me tell you something. A police officer will continue to receive a salary, let's take for instance, for a period of 35 years. When you gather that, you understand, can you compare it with what is being given to these people? That's actually the question we're asking. This is a one-shot gift, okay? Because of their tenacity, because of the spirit of sportsmanship, because of their loyalty, because irregardless of the diversity of this country, okay, and our political and economic inadequacies, some people still went out there and made the country proud. They deserve something. But because of our broken politics, because of corruption, some institutions, you understand, who provide day-to-day services for the health and goodness of the nation are now complaining. Can't you see that there's a gap? Can't you feel the gap? This gap is a leadership gap, okay? They shouldn't, come on, there is nothing wrong with Mr. President. More should even be given to them, okay? Let the youth be encouraged to be more patriotic, go out there and make our nation proud. I think the Tiger basketball team is also making us proud. Let us encourage all this. It paints a very good image of the nation that despite what we are going through, we are a dogged people. We can fight to make our nation proud. But do our leaders appreciate this in the local level? Can't they see the divide? Can't they see the gap? So we should not take the fight to the gift given to those who have made our nation proud. No. We should take the fight to institutions established to take care of nurses, police, and all the rest of them. Do you know that most of the time, the money budgeted for all those things are being pocketed by the same politicians who included it in the budget, thereby leaving them destitute? Not just why, including why they are working in the office and also when they are retired. A lot is going on. So we shouldn't misplace priorities here and start throwing punches to those who have worked their work, because if they go out there and fail, if they are eliminated in the first round, you understand, nothing will be given to them, or not much will be given to them, and nobody will complain.
And coming from
what about when they are eliminated in the first round?
Yes.
When they'll be given peanuts, and probably sometimes they say that the flight that will bring them back will allow them, sometimes they will use their money to pay for their hotel accommodation because the money budgeted and voted for them wasn't actually given. Let us take this fight to where it belongs. That is corruption, okay? Not just in criticizing those who have made our nation proud. So that's my take on that.
Also,
right, Oji, go ahead.
Also trying to fix the rightful infrastructure. Yes, it's great that they did what they did. The end of the match was awesome.
Yeah.
From 2-0 to 3.
That's a wonderful comeback.
It's a great deal.
Great comeback.
But why are we paying lip service in this country? Some infrastructure like the medical infrastructure and even the security infrastructure. The police were voting the other day. They were even proposing 500,000 to pay to the police, because these are the people protecting these individuals, risking their lives and all that. But at the end of the day, it's them retire and everybody, they are forgotten.
I don't have any much pity for the police. I'm sorry to say that. I don't really have much pity for the police.
Sometimes
the police,
you have pity for them because
do you know the police? Do you know the police means? Let me tell you.
They respect the last order.
The police.
It might not be their.
Do you know the police is like the final version of the presidency walking on the streets. The police is the implementer of the policies made by the presidency. That's what the police is. What have we benefited from the police? Rigging election, siding, shutting down protests, incarcerating people. What have Nigerians benefited from the police? Because the police is in the pocket of... Look, I don't have problem with the office of the police, but I have problem with the people who work in the police department, because they are in the pocket of the executives.
Consider this. Put this into consideration. The last order
I know
they give to a policeman.
I know
He has to respect
I know
that.
the police.
So that's where the fault
The
comes
police
from.
has to be independent. The police department and the justice department has to be independent, because you know why? A president can come and leave office, but that institution of safety, that institution of justice, is a paramount and a sacrosanct institution. It should not be compromised by politics. That's why we are where we are. Yes, that's why we are where we are. The IG will be in the pocket of the president. Okay? The AIG will be in the pocket of the president. They will suppress protest. They will suppress everything. They will be used to rig election, allegedly. And they will come out and start crying, we are not well paid. I don't have any pity for the police. The police should stand on their own. The police should also listen to the yearnings of the masses. What was the outcome of the, what do you call it? No, the riots, what do you call it? NSAS. What was the outcome of the NSAS? Have you read the report of the special committee set up for the NSAS? Have you read the report of what happened? Have you read the report? What happened in Lekki toll gates? I don't have any sympathy for the police until the justice and the police department have the guts and the intestinal capacity to stand for their own. That's when I have pity for them.
Barrister Chidi,
I don't have any pity for them.
let me come in now.
Yeah.
Do you think you're being too general with your analysis on this issue of police? Because it's almost in the same thing in the courtroom, in the justice system, like you rightly pointed.
That's why I say,
let me make my point.
I combined it, yeah.
Let me make my point. So you obviously are you're a constitutional lawyer.
Yeah.
So you do your work. Imagine someone comes on air and is now saying that they have no sympathy for all the lawyers. I mean, there's still some noble officers, noble police officers that go around discharging their duties diligently. So I mean, I'm trying to understand if you really want to generalize your stand on this.
Let me tell you one thing. Like I say to the police department, I say to the justice department, if we, those who criticize the justice department, those who want new things to happen, if our criticism and our campaign is not enough to cause a change, what are we going to do at the end of the day? I understand what you're saying. I understand your narrative. Not all police officers are corrupt. Not all police officers aim on their own. Okay, let me give you this. Do you know that if a president cannot control the IG during election, if the sitting president or the governor cannot control the police department, if there's a law that makes them totally distinct from being controlled, if I say I want to protest against something now, and the police will come out and give me protection, and I'll protest, openly, and I will not be tear gas. You understand? I will not be put in prison. You understand? My safety will be guaranteed. If the police now stand for law, if that volume and that number of police officers who are good, let me tell you, there is no number of good police officers who will change the police department. Quote me anywhere.
Right.
There is no number, Natalie, there is no number of good lawyers and judges who will change the justice department. Except if you change the law. If the justice department is not independent, if you can appoint judges and fire them, if you can buy them cars and build houses for them, if our judges will still be writing judgments with pen and paper at this generation, there is no number of good lawyers that will change them. It's a legal system. So we attack the law. Once there is a law making the police department independent, once there's a law making the justice department independent, they will operate within the realm of that independence. And that's the only way we can come and speak independently. If the chief judge of this nation cannot come in a general election and say, this is the true result of the election, this is what I see by law. If you cannot do that, I don't have any sympathy for anybody. I don't have any sympathy for anybody.
We'll wrap up
because
now.
we are all still in that same boiling cauldron.
All right,
you understand?
right,
the boiling cauldron of corruption.
The cauldron.
Yeah, it's a cauldron. It's boiling.
Great.
It's full of corruption.
Okay, thank you. So
who will bail this nation?
Exactly.
Who will bail this nation?
That's a great way to wrap up.
Oh my God.
That's a great way to wrap up, because I will now ask, do the police officers want to be independent?
Yes, they want.
Let's leave it at that. Thank you, Barrister Chidi, for joining the show today. Thank you for
Thanks a lot.
We'll leave it at that.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. I think they want. They
When
truly
we
want.
return
Yeah.
from this break, we'll take a look at regional stories. Today we'll be staying in Enugu, where we're going to be reporting on the latest move by the state governor. And then Morning Show will come back with discussions. Stay tuned.